Hi everyone, welcome. Today we're going to be talking about one of my favorite themes for mindfulness, and that is gratitude. And is it even available to us in these challenging times? Well, I think it is, and I'm going to reference some of the research, scientific studies that have been done around the benefits of gratitude, and then also mention a couple of tools that we can use in order to cultivate that in our daily lives. But there are many studies that show the benefits of mindfulness and gratitude are myriad, and they can encompass your physical being, your social and emotional well-being, and some studies even say it's a key ingredient to a healthy and meaningful life. And I tend to agree. So let's talk about the physical and the social and emotional benefits first, because they're inextricably linked. And there's a scientist, a professor at UC Davis named Professor Robert Emmons, who's actually the world's leading scientific expert on gratitude. Must be such a great job. And he says that gratitude can provide three things. It can heal, it can energize, and it can change lives. So I think coming from such an eminent source, we have to give it some credence. So let me dig into some of the benefits that his studies have shown on this emotional and social plane. So he says, grateful people report a vivid sense of well-being and optimism. They tend to be more liked by other people, which leads to better relationships. And they're more forgiving. So I think cultivating the sense of compassion, the sense of understanding, this sense of validating another person and being grateful for what they've done, you're reaching out, and we are incredibly inherently social beings. So forging that positive connection with another is very, very critical to our well-being. And so gratitude is one of the ways we can do that. It's also been shown to dissolve feelings such as anger and fear, and has been seen to motivate and encourage moral behavior or the doing of good deeds. So as you perform acts of kindness and generosity towards others, you focus not so much on what you don't have or what you're lacking, but you focus on what you have and sharing that with others. One of my favorite phrases, the more you have to give. So not only do you have more to give, but you have to give more. And I think a lot of people think if they're giving, things are going to be taken away from them. But really what these studies show is that the more you give, there's a reciprocal giving back. There's a reciprocal feeling of well-being in just giving to some other beings. And it could be your pet, it's not just human beings, but the idea is that there's a reciprocal positive feedback loop when you are giving and feeling and sensing and donating and expressing gratitude towards others. Now, on a physical level, it's also quite interesting. It has been shown to have benefits on a physiological level as well. So there's a neuropsychologist named Dr. Rick Hanson, and he is a senior fellow at UC Berkeley's Greater Good Science Center. And he has studied the idea of neuroplasticity, which is really based on the fact that your brain changes based on your behavior. And so he says that neurons that fire together, wire together, which really means that your behavior can change your actual brain cells. And an example of this is when you do these good deeds, then your brain secretes a hormone or neurotransmitter called dopamine. And dopamine leads to better health, better increased focus, increased motivation, and it's just been shown to bring about a sense of well-being and ease. On the other hand, if you're feeling stressed or anxious or fear, your brain secretes a chemical called cortisol. And cortisol has been shown to actually be a foundation for ill health. It can cause headaches and heart pains and weight gain and bad sleep. So the idea is that gratefulness and gratitude really can be beneficial on so many levels for our sense of well-being and happiness. And actually, speaking of the body, I think that's a great place to start to feel grateful. I know we can tend to take it for granted, just the way we take our breath for granted or the present moment for granted, but and you really might not even think about your ankle till you sprained it, or your finger till you got a paper cut. But I'm going to recount a few facts that you might be able to remember, and when you wake up in the morning, and just be in a sense of awe at this amazing vessel that carries us through our lives. So our body contains 1.1 trillion cells that are constantly regenerating. Your eye can see 10 million colors. In fact, if it were a digital camera, it'd be 256 pixels. Your body has 100,000 miles of blood vessels. And your nose can smell 50,000 different scents. And my favorite is that we breathe almost 1,000 times an hour, or almost 24,000 times in a day. So if you think about it, you're actually letting go 12,000 times a day. So when we talk about letting go, it's something we do automatically. And this autonomic nervous system of ours take care of running this body so seamlessly that, again, we don't have to think about it. But if we had to, that would be all we were thinking about. So we have to be thankful for the glory that is this body and how it takes care of us. In fact, there's a speech that Shakespeare wrote for Hamlet that makes me think he was thinking the same thing, where he writes, "What a piece of work is man, how noble in reason, how infinite in faculty, in form and moving, how express and admirable, in action, how like an angel, in apprehension, how like a god, the beauty of the world, the paragon of animals." Quite beautiful. There's nothing else I can say to that. But the cool thing is, with mindfulness, we can actually cultivate this sense of gratitude by bringing some goodness into our lives at the start of each day. And there's a quote from Maya Angelou, which I think really sums it up. She goes, "This is a wonderful day. I've never seen it before." Can you imagine waking up and saying that to yourself? So the idea is, one of the tools we can use, and you may have heard of it, is called a gratitude journal. And the idea is that you wake up in the morning and think of 1, 2, 3, if you're lucky, things you can be thankful for, and writing them down. You need a physical journal. You need a pen so that you can look at it after a week or a month or 2 months and go, wow, look at all this amazing things that I'm thankful for. I mean, it's a physical, tangible thing that you can refer to again and again and again. And it's not the same as typing or recording. It really, when you write, it makes an impression on your brain. That's, again, the neuroplasticity. So can you be thankful when you wake up in the morning? For me, it's sunshine. I love sunshine. I moved here from the East Coast because I think I had seasonal affect disorder. And when winter used to come around, I would just get really depressed. And there's no winter here. Sky is blue. And that blue is so amazing. I can't get over how blue that sky is and how green it is in my garden. So I'm just thankful for all the colors. In fact, when I moved here, I got rid of all the colors inside my apartment, as you can see behind me, because I wanted nature to be the thing that shines through, the nature, the color around me to be the thing that dominates. So again, see if you can, it can just be little things you're thankful for. It doesn't have to be big things. It could be the breakfast that's waiting for you in the fridge. It could be your pet. It could be, just, again, that the beach is nearby, or that you're going to speak to your friend later on. It just could be little things, because little things add up. In fact, I'm a big fan of little things. You know what I say, brick by brick, breath by breath, moment by moment. That's how our lives are made. So it is the little things that count. So just see if you can find 3 little things every day. Be a great exercise. And in that vein, let me read a quote from a poet I love named David White, no relation. And he goes, "Gratitude is the understanding that many millions of things come together and live together and mesh together and breathe together in order for us to take even one more breath of air. That the underlying gift of life and incarnation of a living, participating human being is privilege. That we are part of something rather than nothing. Even if that something is temporarily pain or despair, we inhabit a living world with real faces and real voices and real laughter. The color blue, the green of the fields, the freshness of a cold wind, and the tawny hue of a winter landscape. Even the way he writes about winter sounds better than when I used to experience it. But again, just can be just the color blue you could be thankful for. So that was my inspiration for today. But another exercise that you can do, and I did this recently, it's a little more challenging, takes a bit more effort, but is also very, very rewarding. And it really does include involving other people. So it's called Random Acts of Kindness. And I set myself a challenge for 1 week to perform random acts of kindness. And the only rules were it had to be people that I didn't know, so strangers, and it couldn't involve money. And so that's harder than I thought it was going to be in Los Angeles. You know, in New York, you're constantly passing people on the sidewalk, you're passing them on the subways and elevators and buildings. But here I basically go from my house to my car to my office, and then maybe I go to yoga or come back home. So don't run into a lot of people. So I had to look harder than I thought. But once you start looking, it's quite easy. So it just started where I could tell someone was in a big hurry and I wasn't going fast enough on the 405 for them. So I just moved over to the slow lane and let them really go ahead of me. But more importantly, there was a woman online in front of me at the grocery store, and her child was very fussy. And even though she had a huge cart full of groceries and I had like 3 things, I said, please go in front of me. And I could tell she was just so relieved and grateful. Or there's a woman in my gym, and she works so hard at vacuuming the floor there, which is pretty dirty with all the people that come in and out, but she does it with such care and attention. And I just wanted to recognize her. So I just said, thank you so much, because it's such a pleasure coming into this gym. And I know you've done such a great job. And she was so grateful. I mean, just being recognized for your work. With my staff, I always try and say thank you for just little things. Just knowing that even though they're getting paid, even though that's their job, they like to be recognized just the way I like to be recognized. So thank you is 2 really important words. Or you can just smile. You know, there's a garage attendant in my building at work, and I usually am running or rushing up to this, elevator, but I always, for the last week, I would go, oh, so nice to see you. How's your day going? And again, just recognizing him and acknowledging him made me feel better. I know it made him feel better as well. So just knowing that giving and not getting brings gratitude, and, cultivating it is free. You don't need to buy anything, and you don't need to give something to somebody. It doesn't have to be a physical, tangible object. It can just be that sense of emotional gratitude, that sense of kindness, that sense of empathy and compassion. That really is very, very valuable. I have a phrase that I use called, it's actually one of my passwords called, and it's, the more you have, the more you have to give. And what it means is not only do you have more to give, but you have to give more. And so you find that when you have this feeling of abundance, you feel that giving in a way is bringing more back to you. So you don't have this scarcity mindset that giving means you're going to have less. And again, that's something you can cultivate through your mindfulness practice when you just focus, make that a filter or a lens through how you work with other people, how you interact with other people. And you'll find, again, that even though it may be hard initially, it may be a system 2 thinking process, that with that filter that you cultivate, it can become a system 1 and bring, healthful benefits to you as well as those around you. So with that, let me just quote a lovely thought from the Dalai Lama. And he says, discovering more joy does not save us from hardship and heartbreak. In fact, we may cry more easily, but we will laugh more easily too. Perhaps we are just more alive. Yet as we discover more joy, we can face suffering in a way that ennobles rather than embitters. And we can have hardship without becoming hard, and we can have heartbreaks without being broken. So I love that. And I think, again, mindfulness can really help us cultivate that sense of abundance, that sense of gratitude, that sense of wanting to give. And we can just do it day by day through our journal, through our thoughts, through our actions. So thank you so much. I hope these are useful tools for you. And I know this is the last class that we had in the initial 6 sessions being offered by the Santa Monica Public Library. But seems like most people through the survey are really interested in continuing. So I'll be offering at the same time on Thursdays another 6 weeks. And I'll just send out the new Zoom link. And thank you all for participating. It's been my joy to share this with you. And I look forward to continuing with you. So again, I'm grateful for you. And thank you so much.